The invitation to my brother's engagement party came via a family group text, celebrating Nathan and Vanessa's engagement. Garden party at the Davidson estate, Sunday 3 p.m. Dress to impress. I read it from my office at Davidson Maison headquarters in Manhattan, 30 floors above Fifth Avenue. Through the window I could see the flagship store across the street, the one with my name in elegant script above the entrance. The fall collection had just launched and the early numbers were extraordinary. My creative director Antoine knocked and entered. Mademoiselle Davidson, the Paris office called. The Rothschild family wants to discuss a collaboration for their foundation gala. They're proposing a meeting Monday morning. Book it. I'll fly out Sunday night. Your Gulfstream is maintained and ready. Captain Morrison can have you wheels up by midnight if needed. Perfect. And Antoine, the fall collection numbers. He smiled that French smile that meant good news. Revenue projections are exceeding expectations. We're looking at $340 million for fall alone. The peacock evening gown sold out in 48 hours. Bergdorf wants to double their spring order. I leaned back in my chair. 10 years ago, I dropped out of Parsons School of Design with 1 semester left to launch my own fashion line. My family had been horrified. No degree, no safety net, just sketches and ambition. Now at 32 I ran a fashion house valued at $1.2 billion. We had flagship stores in New York, Paris, London, Milan and Tokyo. We dressed celebrities, royalty and billionaires. My designs had been featured at the Met Gala 5 years running. And my family thought I was a struggling artist selling clothes at weekend markets. Because I'd never corrected their assumptions. It started innocently enough. When I dropped out of Parsons, Dad had declared I'd thrown my life away. When my first collection launched at a small boutique, Mom had sent me grocery money because she assumed I was starving. When Nathan graduated from Harvard Business School, Dad's toast specifically mentioned children who finish what they start, unlike some people. I tried to tell them about my success. I'd invited them to my first major fashion show. They declined, too busy with Nathan's graduation. I'd sent them press clippings when Vogue featured my designs. They'd never responded. I'd mentioned my flagship store opening. Mom had asked if I was selling my own designs or just working retail. Eventually I stopped trying. Let them think what they wanted. I was too busy building an empire to worry about their approval. But Nathan's engagement party? I'd go. Family obligation and all that. Sunday afternoon I dressed carefully. Not in one of my own designs. That would be too obvious. Instead I wore a simple Chanel dress, elegant but understated. I drove to my parents' Connecticut estate in my practical Range Rover, not the Bentley or the Porsche sitting in my Manhattan garage. The Davidson estate looked spectacular. White tents on the lawn, servers in crisp uniforms, flowers everywhere. 200 guests mingled on the manicured grounds. Family, friends, business associates of my father's investment firm. My brother Nathan stood near the entrance with his fiancée Vanessa, both glowing with happiness. Nathan was 29, 3 years younger than me, and he'd done everything right. Harvard undergrad, Harvard Business School, job at Dad's firm, now engaged to Vanessa, whose father owned a hedge fund. The perfect son with the perfect life. Natalie. Nathan called out using the family nickname. You made it. I hugged him. Congratulations. I'm happy for you both. Vanessa offered her hand, clearly coached by Nathan on the difficult sister. So nice to finally meet you. Nathan's told me so much about you. All good things, I hope. He said you're an artist. That's so creative. Her tone suggested creative was code for unemployed. Something like that. Mom appeared elegant in Valentino, one of my competitors. Natalie, darling, you look nice. Is that dress new? Relatively. Well, it's very pretty. Budget-friendly, I hope? I know things are tight for you. She lowered her voice. Nathan mentioned you might need some help with rent. We can wire you something after the party. I'm fine, Mom. Are you sure? There's no shame in accepting help. We're family. Before I could respond, Dad called everyone to gather for toasts. The guests assembled near a small platform where a microphone had been set up. Dad took the microphone, beaming with pride. Thank you all for coming to celebrate Nathan and Vanessa's engagement. This is a special day for the Davidson family. He launched into a speech about Nathan's accomplishments. Harvard degrees, rising star at the investment firm, excellent choice in a bride. The guests applauded enthusiastically. Then Dad's tone shifted. You know, when you have children, you hope they'll make you proud, he said. You hope they'll finish what they start. You hope they'll make responsible choices. Nathan has exceeded every expectation. He paused and I felt it coming. Of course, not all children follow the same path. Some make choices that are concerning. Some drop out of school to chase unrealistic dreams. Some refuse to acknowledge that those dreams aren't working out. The guests grew quiet, sensing the shift. Dad looked directly at me. My daughter Natalie dropped out of Parsons with 1 semester left. No degree. She's been trying to make it in fashion for 10 years now. Still unmarried, still struggling, still refusing to accept reality. I stood very still, holding my champagne glass. She'll never amount to anything, Dad continued, his voice heavy with disappointment. No degree, no husband, no prospects. She had every advantage. Good schools, family connections, opportunities, and she squandered it all on a pipe dream. Several guests looked at me with pity. Others looked away, embarrassed by the public humiliation. Nathan, on the other hand, Dad said, pivoting back to my brother, represents everything we hoped for in a child. Success, stability, a bright future with a wonderful woman. He raised his glass. To Nathan and Vanessa, may your life together be everything our family represents. Achievement, commitment, and making the right choices. Everyone toasted. I raised my glass mechanically and took a sip. Nathan looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Vanessa was staring at me with that particular expression of pity mixed with relief. Relief that she'd chosen the successful brother. Mom patted my arm sympathetically. Don't take it personally, dear. Your father just wants what's best for you. I understand. The party continued, but I was now the official cautionary tale. Guests would glance at me, whisper, and turn away. The struggling artist. The dropout. The disappointment. I was checking my phone. A message from Antoine about the Paris meeting details, when I heard heels clicking across the stone patio. Oh, not heels. Dress shoes. Formal ones. I looked up to see Captain Jack Morrison, my pilot, walking across the garden party in his full captain's uniform. Crisp white shirt with epaulettes, navy jacket, the whole professional pilot ensemble. He was impossible to miss. The party noticed him immediately. Conversations paused. Heads turned. Captain Morrison walked directly toward me with purpose, carrying a leather folder embossed with my company logo. Ms. Davidson, he said clearly, his voice carrying across the now quiet garden. I apologize for interrupting, but your Gulfstream G650 is fueled and ready at Westchester County Airport. You requested wheels up at midnight for Paris. The garden had gone silent. The flight plan is filed, he continued, professional and formal. We'll arrive at Le Bourget at 10 a.m. Paris time, which gives you plenty of time to prepare for your 8 a.m. meeting with the Rothschild family on Monday morning. He handed me the leather folder. Your briefing materials for the Paris meetings. The Rothschild Foundation Gala collaboration, the meeting with LVMH about the potential acquisition, and the investor dinner with the Arnault family. Dad's champagne glass was frozen halfway to his lips. Captain Morrison wasn't finished. Also, ma'am, your office called with an urgent update. The fall collection revenue numbers just finalized. Your CFO wanted you to know that fall 2024 generated $340 million in revenue. That's 40% above initial projections. He pulled out his tablet and showed me a report. The peacock evening gown alone generated $28 million. Bergdorf Goodman has requested to double their spring order, and Harrods wants an exclusive capsule collection for their anniversary. Nathan's mouth was hanging open. Additionally, Captain Morrison continued, your Paris flagship manager reports that the Avenue Montaigne location had a record weekend. And the Duchess of Cambridge was photographed in your silk cocktail dress. Social media engagement is up 400%. He checked his notes. Your meeting with Anna Wintour about the Met Gala commission is confirmed for Tuesday in New York. She's very pleased with the sketches you sent. The garden party had become a tableau, 200 people frozen in various states of shock. Captain Morrison looked at me expectantly. Will there be any changes to the Paris departure time, Ms. Davidson? I smiled. No, Captain Morrison. Midnight departure is perfect. Please have the crew prepare my usual in-flight preferences. The Dom Perignon 2008 and the salmon carpaccio from Daniel. Already arranged. He nodded professionally. I'll see you at 11:30 p.m. for pre-flight briefing. Thank you, Captain. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Miss Davidson? Congratulations on the Vogue September cover announcement. Your publicist wants approval on the interview questions. He walked away, his dress shoes clicking across the stone patio, leaving absolute silence in his wake. I looked at my phone, a legitimate text from my executive assistant. Paris meetings confirmed. Gulfstream ready. Fall collection hit $340 million. You're killing it, boss. I stood up, smoothing my Chanel dress. I'm sorry, Nathan, I said, looking at my brother. Congratulations on your engagement. Vanessa, welcome to the family. But I need to leave. I have a business to run. I looked at my father, who'd gone pale. A Gulfstream G650, Dad. That's my private jet. Cost $65 million. I own it outright, no lease, no partners. Captain Morrison has been my pilot for 4 years. I pulled out my phone and showed him my calendar. This week. Monday, meeting with the Rothschild family about dressing their foundation gala. Tuesday, LVMH discussing a potential acquisition of my company for $1.8 billion. Wednesday, investor dinner with Bernard Arnault. Thursday, Met Gala commission meeting with Anna Wintour. Friday, Paris Fashion Week planning. The garden was so quiet I could hear birds chirping. The fall collection generated $340 million in revenue, I continued. That's one season. One collection. My annual revenue is approximately $920 million. The company valuation is $1.2 billion. I looked around at the shocked faces. I'm not a struggling artist, Dad. I'm the founder and creative director of Davidson Maison, one of the fastest-growing luxury fashion houses in the world. We have flagship stores in 5 countries. We dress royalty, celebrities, and billionaires. We show at Paris Fashion Week. We're featured in Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, and W Magazine regularly. Vanessa made a strangled sound. Davidson Maison. The fashion house that dressed everyone at the Oscars? Yes. The one that the Duchess of Cambridge wears constantly? Yes. The one that Anna Wintour called the future of American fashion? Yes. She turned to Nathan. Your sister, is that Natalie Davidson? Nathan was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. You run Davidson Maison? I founded it 10 years ago. Dropped out of Parsons to launch it. Best decision I ever made. Mom had sat down on a nearby chair looking faint. But we thought, you said you were working in fashion. I am working in fashion. I design every collection personally. I oversee every aspect of the business. I work 80-hour weeks during Fashion Week. I negotiate with suppliers, meet with buyers, and build relationships with clients. I pulled up my Instagram on my phone. 2.4 million followers. My recent post, a photo from the Paris atelier, had 340,000 likes. This is my life, Mom. This is what I've been doing for 10 years while you sent me grocery money and worried about my rent. Uncle Robert, Dad's brother, spoke up. He was in finance and had clearly put pieces together. Natalie, I've read about Davidson Maison. The fashion industry analysts project you'll hit $1.5 billion in revenue within 3 years. You're positioned to compete with Oscar de la Renta and Carolina Herrera. That's the goal. And LVMH wants to acquire you? They've been pursuing us for 18 months. I'm considering their offer, but I might stay independent. I like controlling my own creative vision. Dad found his voice, though it came out strangled. You own a Gulfstream. Yes. It's more efficient than commercial flights when I'm traveling between New York, Paris, London, and Milan every month. Time is money, Dad. You taught me that. But a $65 million jet is a business asset. The company owns it. It's tax deductible. And it allows me to maximize productivity while traveling. I designed an entire collection during a flight to Tokyo last month. I checked my watch, a Patek Philippe that cost more than Nathan's car. I really do need to leave. I have meetings in Paris that could determine whether my company gets acquired for nearly $2 billion, or whether I build it to $3 billion independently first. Vanessa was staring at her phone, frantically scrolling. Nathan, your sister dressed Beyoncé for the Grammys. And Lady Gaga for the Met Gala. And, oh my God, that's the peacock gown everyone was talking about. She designed that. Yes, I said. That gown took 450 hours of hand beating. It sold for $180,000. We've had requests for 12 custom versions. I looked at my mother. You're wearing Valentino, Mom. Nice choice. But my peacock gown generated more press coverage than Valentino's entire spring collection. Just so you know. It was petty but satisfying. Nathan finally approached me. Natalie, I don't understand. Why didn't you tell us? Why let us think you were struggling? I tried, Nathan. Repeatedly. I invited you all to my first major fashion show at New York Fashion Week 5 years ago. You were all too busy. I sent you press clippings when Vogue featured my work. No one responded. I mentioned my flagship store opening. Mom asked if I was working retail. I looked around at my family. Every time I tried to share my success, you dismissed it. You were so convinced I'd failed by dropping out that you couldn't see I'd succeeded because I dropped out. You needed me to be the cautionary tale so Nathan could be the success story. That's not true, Dad protested. Isn't it? You literally just told 200 people that I'll never amount to anything. That I have no degree, no husband, no prospects. You made me the punchline at Nathan's engagement party. I pulled out my phone and showed him a Forbes article from 6 months ago. 30 under 30. Natalie Davidson's meteoric rise in luxury fashion. I'm on the Forbes 30 under 30 list, Dad. I've been profiled in the Wall Street Journal, Business of Fashion, and the Financial Times. Anna Wintour wrote a personal profile about me for Vogue's business issue. I scrolled through my phone. But you wouldn't know that because you never asked about my work. You never expressed interest in my life. You just assumed I was failing and felt comfortable using me as an example of what not to do. Mom was crying now. Natalie, I'm so sorry. We had no idea. You had no idea because you didn't want to know. It was easier to believe I was a struggling dropout than to actually pay attention to what I'd built. One of Dad's business colleagues spoke up, a man I recognized from financial news. Ms. Davidson, I'm familiar with your company. The growth trajectory is extraordinary. You're on track to become one of the most valuable independent fashion houses in America. That's the plan, Mr. Sterling. He turned to my father. Richard, your daughter is building a billion-dollar empire. I'd say she's done quite well without that Parsons degree. Dad looked like he'd been slapped. Captain Morrison appeared again at the garden entrance, giving me a subtle nod, my cue that we should actually discuss the Paris trip logistics. I'm leaving, I said. Nathan, Vanessa, congratulations again. I genuinely wish you both happiness. I looked at my parents. When you're ready to actually know me, the real me, not the struggling artist you invented in your heads, you can reach out. But I'm done being your cautionary tale. I'm done being the example of failure at family events. I'm a successful businesswoman and you can accept that or not. Your choice. I walked toward the garden exit, Captain Morrison falling into step beside me. How bad was it? He asked quietly. Dad told 200 people I'll never amount to anything. Ouch. Want me to circle back with the jet and do a low flyover? I laughed despite everything. Tempting but no. The point was made. It certainly was. Your family looks like they've seen a ghost. As we walked through the estate toward where my Range Rover was parked, I could hear the explosion of conversation behind us. The whispers, the frantic phone googling, the shock. Captain Morrison handed me the actual briefing folder for the Paris meetings. The Rothschilds are serious about the collaboration. This could be very prestigious for the brand. I know. And the LVMH meeting. They've increased their offer. Your CFO thinks they'll hit $2 billion if you play it right. What do you think I should do? I think you should do whatever lets you keep designing at this level. Your fall collection was extraordinary. Don't let business decisions compromise your creative vision. We reached my car. Captain Morrison opened the door for me. See you at 11:30 p.m., Ms. Davidson. The Gulfstream will be ready. Thank you, Jack. I drove away from my parents' estate, checking my rearview mirror. Guests were still standing in clusters, clearly discussing what had just happened. My family was visible on the patio, Dad sitting down heavily, Mom crying, Nathan looking shell-shocked. My phone started buzzing immediately. Nathan, Natalie, we need to talk. Please. Mom, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. Please call me. Uncle Robert, your father is an idiot. Congratulations on your success. I'd love to hear about the business sometime. Even Vanessa, I had no idea who you were. Can we start over? I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I called Antoine. How did it go? He asked. They know now. Dramatic reveal? My pilot showed up in full uniform to discuss the Gulfstream and the $340 million fall collection. Antoine laughed. Parfait. Very on brand. So, are you actually coming to Paris? Yes. The Rothschild meeting is real and I want to review the spring collection progress at the atelier. Excellent. I'll have the team ready. And Natalie? Yes. Your family is about to discover what the rest of the world already knows. You're extraordinary. Whether they deserved that lesson or not. I spent the evening at my Manhattan penthouse preparing for Paris. The apartment was in a pre-war building on the Upper East Side. 3 bedrooms, terrace with Central Park views, decorated with pieces I'd collected from my travels. The walls held my sketches, my inspiration boards, my vision for where Davidson Maison would go next. This was my sanctuary, the place where collections were born. At 11 p.m., my car service arrived to take me to Westchester County Airport. The private terminal was quiet, efficient, designed for people who valued time over cost. Captain Morrison met me at the entrance. Good evening, Miss Davidson. The Gulfstream is ready. Flight time to Paris is approximately 7 hours. We should land at 10 a.m. local time. The jet was beautiful. Cream leather seats, mahogany accents, a bedroom in the back, a conference area where I could work. My home in the sky. As we taxied toward the runway, my phone buzzed one more time. Dad's number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Natalie. His voice was rough, emotional. I'm calling to apologize. For which part? Calling me a failure publicly, or spending 10 years dismissing my success? Both. All of it. I was wrong. Completely, utterly wrong. I waited. I've spent the last 3 hours reading about Davidson Maison, he continued. About you. The Forbes articles, the fashion industry coverage, the client testimonials. You've built something extraordinary. Yes, I have. And I missed it. Worse than missing it, I actively refused to see it. I was so invested in my idea of what success looked like that I couldn't recognize yours. The jet engines hummed as we prepared for takeoff. I called you a failure in front of 200 people, Dad said, his voice breaking. I used you as an example of what not to do. And all this time you were more successful than I ever was. You built this from nothing. No family money, no connections I provided. Just your talent and determination. That's true. Can you forgive me? I looked out the window at the lights of New York below us. Eventually, maybe. But Dad, this isn't fixed with one phone call. You need to understand what you did. For 10 years you made me feel worthless. You made me the family embarrassment. You used my life as a cautionary tale. I know. And when I tried to tell you about my success, when I invited you to shows, sent you press coverage, mentioned my stores, you ignored it all. Because you needed me to be a failure. You're right. And I'm ashamed. Captain Morrison's voice came over the intercom. Miss Davidson, we're cleared for takeoff. I have to go, Dad. I have a flight to catch. In your private jet, he said quietly. To meet with the Rothschilds. Because you're a billionaire fashion designer who dresses royalty. Yes. I'm proud of you, Natalie. I should have said it 10 years ago. I should have said it every day. But I'm saying it now. I'm proud of you. The words I'd wanted to hear for a decade. But they felt hollow now, coming only after the public revelation. Thank you, I said. That means something. But Dad, I need time. I need you to show me consistently that you respect my life and my choices. One apology isn't enough. I understand. Take all the time you need. The jet accelerated down the runway, lifting smoothly into the night sky. I'm going to Paris now, I said. To meet with people who valued my work from the beginning. Who see my talent, not my lack of degree. Who celebrate my success instead of dismissing it. As you should. Goodbye, Dad. Safe travels, Natalie. And congratulations. On everything. I ended the call as we climbed through the clouds, New York disappearing below us. Captain Morrison's voice came over the intercom again. Miss Davidson, we've reached cruising altitude. Feel free to move about the cabin. I unbuckled and walked to the conference area where my briefing materials were spread out. The Rothschild meeting, the LVMH negotiations, the spring collection reviews. My phone buzzed with a text from Antoine. Safe flight. Remember, you're not just meeting with the Rothschilds. They're honored to meet with you. You're Natalie Davidson. Act like it. I smiled. He was right. I'd spent 10 years building an empire while my family thought I was a failure. I'd dressed celebrities and royalty while they sent me grocery money. I generated nearly $1 billion in revenue while they pitted me for not having a degree. And tonight, flying to Paris in my private jet to meet with one of the world's most prestigious families, I realized something. I didn't need my family's approval anymore. I had the approval of Anna Wintour, the Duchess of Cambridge, and 2.4 million Instagram followers. I had a company valued at $1.2 billion. I had a creative vision that was changing luxury fashion. And I had the satisfaction of knowing that the family who'd called me a failure was now frantically Googling my name, discovering that I was more successful than any of them had ever dreamed. The struggling dropout with no prospects? She was flying to Paris in a Gulfstream. She was meeting with the Rothschilds. She generated $340 million in a single season. She was the future of American fashion. And she'd done it all without their support, their approval, or their belief. Maybe that was the real victory. Not proving them wrong, though that felt good. But proving to myself that I never needed them to be right. I pulled out my sketchbook and started designing. The spring collection needed work, and I had 7 hours of uninterrupted flight time. 7 hours to create something beautiful. 7 hours to build my empire a little higher. 7 hours to be exactly who I'd always known I was. Natalie Davidson. Fashion designer. Billionaire. And absolutely, definitively, someone who'd amounted to everything.